We have a very special interview today, something unusual for us, I think. Joining us is Steve Shippy, host on the Travel Channel. Not just any host, though. He's the host for a new paranormal program called Haunting in the Heartland. Steve's show, Haunting in the Heartland, premiered last Friday, where he was investigating supernatural occurrences in Merrill, Michigan, not far away from where he grew up. But this Friday, February 28th, Steve investigates a powerful haunting right here locally in Greeneville, Tennessee. Steve, welcome. I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to speak with us. If you don't care, would you please give us some information on this new show of yours, Haunting in the Heartland?
Absolutely. Bringing resolve, as I say in the series, bringing resolution to the living and the dead. Speaking to the families, getting all the information, building that rapport with them. I definitely speak their language. I'm a Midwestern guy. I grew up in communities very much like the ones that we visit on Haunting in the Heartland. And bringing closure to their situation, if and when at all possible. I believe that information is power, knowledge is power. So being able to come into these environments and being able to tell these people that, listen, you're not alone. Many people experience this. Tell us what's happening. Telling them what we think that it is, as far as classifying the haunting. Is it a residual thing? Is it poltergeist phenomenon? Spirit activity? We start with that at the end of the day, and really that is the mission, is bringing resolve, helping these people, helping these families and communities.
Is there anything else that leads you to take on specific cases? And what I'm getting to is, how did you happen to hear about our cases here in Greeneville, Tennessee?
Well, with the series, a lot of people are contacting us. I've done paranormal investigation for a very long time, so I get a lot of leads from a lot of different sources. And then, of course, the people that are involved with Haunting in the Heartland are hard at work, corresponding with people that are out there looking for answers, seeking help. We have a lot of contacts with different paranormal groups around the country. So we've got our feelers out a little bit of everywhere, especially focusing on the Heartland region. And this case came to us, and man, I'm going to tell you, it definitely is one of the, if not possibly the most impactful case that I've investigated in Greeneville, Tennessee. This specific story was so shocking to us, when we were contacted and started to hear about what the family was experiencing, the tragedy involved within their family that they attributed to paranormal phenomenon was pretty heartbreaking. And then as we got into the town and started to put our boots on the ground and really dig into the stories and interview people, more and more information came out that just was chilling at times. It really was. And it's certainly a case that I'll never forget.
You did say that you'd been investigating a very long time, and I know that you had haunting experiences when you were young. How long have you been investigating, we'll say, professionally?
Oh, professionally, I would say for about the last 15 to 20 years. For the last 11 years, I've been documenting that on film and going, to a different level with it, as a documentarian, and it's been quite a journey. And yes, it did definitely spawn from. But my journey began growing up in a home that was haunted, and as I've said, before, it's you can't unsee or unexperience these type of things. So
right.
when they happen to you, and you're aware of that, it's something you can't turn away from.
I do have. I'm a curiosity question. As the name of this episode that's going to be aired Friday in Greeneville is "I Am Red Death." Can you tell us yet what that came from, or how that title came about?
Yeah, exactly. How that came to be is, I was interviewing one of the family members that was recalling a really horrific experience that happened within the home, and one of the family members were attacked by a force, and during that attack, the individual screamed out, "Who are you?" And because this has repeatedly happened to them, and they were just at their wits' end, and they screamed out, "Who are you?" And a voice right in that person's ear said, "I am Red Death."
When were you in Greeneville, and how long were you here?
Well, I was in Greeneville during last summer, and there for well over a week. we all day, all night,
Mm-hmm.
trying to find people as possible and really digging into, the history of that town.
Also, something I noticed from something that I saw that you had used was something called a geoport, which I actually had not heard of before. Is that something new for you, or is that something that you use a lot, that you find some success with?
Well, it's something that I recently acquired not that long ago. It was something that I've always wanted to use. A gentleman named George Brown invented this out of Toledo, Ohio. Very reputable individual. It's been used by some of the most prominent investigators
Mm-hmm.
in the paranormal field, and it has pretty phenomenal results as far as IT communication. So I was able to acquire one, had one custom made for me specifically for haunting in the Heartland, just trying to advance what we're doing, and we had really astounding results with Geoport. In fact, very chilling results. We did use that in Greeneville, Tennessee, to communicate with what was in the house, and how it responded to us and what it was saying really showed a very powerful intelligence. We knew we were dealing with something much greater than a typical haunting case.
I found it fascinating. I mean, I like all this stuff anyway. From your own professional experience, why do you think that some places are haunted and others aren't? And that's not just, I know that sounds like a vague question, but you visit places that have horrific histories and you think this is the perfect place for a haunting, but there's not really any, substance to that.
Right. No, that's a great question. Very great question. My answer to that would be that, sometimes everything just has to be just right, so to speak. The perfect storm has to line up. Sometimes it's a geographical thing. Is there running water nearby? Is there a river nearby? What's the foundation of the building? Is there any limestone involved? Is there a lot of unrest? Is there a greater picture? Has a tragedy taken place on that land? And as you said, there are a lot of instances where a lot of that does line up, and you would think that a place like that would be severely haunted, but there's little to no reports of activity. And then you'll go to a very unassuming place where maybe a home that's only been built for 20 years has incredible activity.
Yeah.
So a lot of times that we find that attachments are certainly a real thing. People can bring this stuff unbeknownst to them home with them, or maybe they've traveled somewhere and picked it up. It's just that. I mean, the paranormal field is very unexplainable. Needless to say, we have lots to
Right.
learn. That's where all the research comes into play. But usually, I will say, when you're dealing with something that a building or a property that's very active, if you do your diligence and you dig deep enough, you can usually almost always pinpoint the source. How did this begin? When did it start? And why?
Why does sometimes the homeowner will stake their claim, saying this is my house and you're not welcome? Why does sometimes the homeowner will stake their claim, saying this is my house and you're not welcome, leave? Why does that actually work sometimes?
Well, I think it just depends on the haunting itself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say typical because, not to downplay any haunting. Needless to say, it
Yeah.
can be frightening and a lot and very impactful. But sometimes if you're dealing with a human spirit that is residing and occupying a space, and maybe their goal is to intimidate, or they don't like a certain individual that moved in, or they start to renovate the home or change it, they just don't like what's happening, they'll try to, posture or try to bully or try to intimidate, get that person to flee. But when they see that that person is holding their ground and saying, look, this is our house, this is our lives, this is our family, you're not going to drive us out of here. Sometimes they'll just, for lack of a better word, kind of give up on that, or if an investigator or a medium can come in and reason with that spirit, build that rapport with them and say, listen, you're
Mm-hmm.
really affecting these people's lives. How would you feel during your life if you were having to deal with this? A human soul will carry compassion and understanding just like we will in life. So if they can see that what they're doing is wrong or going to affect their final destination when they do move on and go where they need to be, sometimes it can subside as easy as that. anytime that you encounter a haunting or be in an environment where there is activity taking place, needless to say, definitely, have your wits about you. Be cautious. You don't want to open the door too much. You don't want something to attach to you personally, or take it with you. And definitely, I always tell people, if you're going to come in contact with spirit and you're going to communicate, you definitely want to be sure that you have that strong faith within yourself, that you understand that you don't know who you're talking to. People that are using spirit boards or doing call and response or EVP sessions, you might hear certain things and think, okay, well, this is a child or this is a woman who passed suddenly, but you don't know that that's the case. You don't know who you're communicating with. So always take it, I guess, with a grain of salt in that sense. Be cautious. And I will say, going to Greeneville, when people see the episode "I Am Red Death," without a doubt, the investigation that we did in Greeneville, Tennessee, was one of the most prolific cases I've ever worked on. It really is, and beyond just that alone, I also want to say that the people of Greeneville were very welcoming. I had a very great experience there, and helping that family. It truly is a wonderful community.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because next time you come back, then I'm just going to buy you a cup of coffee.
If you know anything about me, coffee is my life.
Travel Channel's Steve Shippy has been our guest today, talking about his new show, Haunting in the Heartland, a brand new show whose next episode, Friday night at 10 p.m., features a haunting in Greeneville, Tennessee.
At the end of the day, I just would like people out there to know that if they are experiencing a haunting, if they live in the Heartland region of the country, if they have a story they would like to share, feel free to contact us. They can find us on social media, search the hashtag Haunting in the Heartland, or go to travelchannel.com and find us there, and we'd love to hear your stories.
Thank you, Steve. That was Steve Shippy. This is Mary Jo Bird, and that's Haunting in the Heartland, Friday night, 10 p.m. on the Travel Channel, Greeneville, Tennessee. Tune in.